2037, so that's far in the future, but let's say Sarah fundamentals. And in this video in particular, let's learn about some basic operators. And let's start by defining what an operator actually is. So an operator basically allows us to transform values or combine multiple values and really do all kind of work with values. And there are many categories of operators, like mathematical operators, comparison operators, logical operators, assignment operators, and many more. So in this video, let's look at some of these types of operators, starting with mathematical or arithmetic operators. So we already used the plus and minus operators, but of course we can do all arithmetic operations. So we can also do multiplication, division, and many more. And let's use the minus operator to calculate ages based on a person's birth year. So let's say age Jonas equals, so the current year, and I will simply assume that right now it's 2037, so that's far in the future, but let's make this a bit fun, and then minus a birth year. So let's say 1991, okay, and then in this lecture, we're going to talk about the precedence of different operators. So I already commented out the code from the last lecture, but let's actually bring some of it back here. And in particular, the calculation of these ages. So like this, and then also this code that we discussed by the end of the last video. Remember that? So the question that I asked by the end of the last video was why these two subtractions here, so this one and this one, are executed before this comparison operator. So basically the question is, why does this work? Okay, because we see that it does actually work. So this number here is clearly going to be higher than this one. Well, it works this way because JavaScript has a well-defined order of operator precedence. So basically the order in which operators are executed. And to actually see the precedence of all the different operators, let's check out a very handy precedence table. So let's Google MDN, which stands for Mozilla Developer Network, and then operator precedence. And so the one you're looking for is this one, so the one that starts with developer.mozilla.org. So MDN is a very well-known and widely used documentation site, and we will actually use MDN a lot throughout the course. And in one of the future sections, I will show you a bit better how to use this site. But for now, we're looking for a table that is here on this page, and it's this one. So here we can see that grouping using parentheses here has the highest precedence of 21, and then we have all the operators that we already saw. So here plus, minus, plus plus, so they have a precedence of 17. Then we have a bunch of other stuff here that we don't know yet, but here's also type of that we already do know. We have the exponentiation operator that I showed you, we have all these math operators here, we have our comparison operators, right? We have some other equality operators here, and a bunch of other operators. And this is actually a nice reference where you can see all the operators that exist in JavaScript in one handy table. But let's now stay in the context of our current example, which is this one here, and let's understand what exactly happens here in terms of operator precedence. So we already know that these two calculations here are done before the comparison. And so let's actually see that in the table. So here we have the comparison, so this greater than, and you see that it has a lower precedence than the subtraction here. So this has 14 and this has 12, right? And of course you don't need to know any of these precedence numbers, okay? Don't worry about that, doesn't matter. No one knows these. You just have to have a general idea of which operators are executed first. So usually all the math operators are executed before the comparison operators, for example, because that makes sense. And so with this we explain why this kind of comparison that we have here works. Now in this table we can also see which operators are executed from left to right and which one from right to left. Like for example the exponentiation operator is executed from right to left, while most operators, especially the mathematical ones, are executed left to right. For example, let's say we wanted to calculate 25 minus 10 minus 5, and so this one should be 10, right? So let's check that, and indeed we get 10. But if it was right to left, then it would be 5 minus 10 minus 25, which would then be something completely different. So this is an example of left to right operation, but assignment, for example, is a good example of right to left execution. So let's see where we actually have assignment here. So it should be one of the lowest ones, and indeed it is. So it's number 3. And so, as I said, this one is right to left. And so let me show you a nice example of why this is important. So let's declare two